Okay, I want to take one example of a non-spontaneous reaction, another example of a spontaneous reaction, to go over a little bit of what was in the dry lab, which some people, messed up a little bit. Um, you're given an equation, so you're supposed to work with the species that are provided to you. And the question was that there was an equation that was given, and you had to determine the E0 cell. You had to determine the delta G0. So realize if you have E0 cell, then just using NF E0 cell will give you your answer. And then you had to say whether it was spontaneous or non-spontaneous. So you know from the chapter on thermodynamics that if this delta G happens to be a negative value, it will be spontaneous. If it's a positive value, it will be non-spontaneous. So when you're given an equation, like I said, you're supposed to work with what you have. So you're given that Zn2 plus is becoming zinc solid, and that means it must have gained electrons. So Zn2 plus 2 electrons, that gives you Zn, and the electrode potential in the book, that's 0.76 volts. And then the other equation that's given is that you have fluoride, which is becoming F2. That means you would have lost those 2 electrons there. So hopefully you can envision here that zinc is being reduced, and F minus, that's being oxidized. Now reduction potential values for fluorine is 2.87 volts. And so what you'll do is you'll simply, in order to determine the E0 cell, you'll simply take a look at what's going on at cathode, and these are reduction potential values, of course, and what's going on at the anode. And so at cathode, we have a reduction, because remember, an ox ate a red cat, and ox ate a red cat, and so anode has oxidation, reduction at cathode. And so that's negative 0.76 minus. At anode, we are saying is our fluoride, and so the value there is negative 2.87. So when you solve that, you end up with a number 3.63 with a negative sign, that many volts. Now that is a negative number, so you expect your delta G0 to be a positive value, and it does come out to be 2 electron is the change, so minus 2 times 96500 times E0 cell is a negative value. So that's reflective of a positive delta G, and value comes out to be 700.5 kilojoules. So since it's a positive value, you say it's non-spontaneous. I'm going to do another example in which our value will turn out to be a positive number. So let's take a look. Let's say I have cadmium 2 plus, which is becoming aluminum, Cd plus, Al 3 plus. This is aqueous, this is solid, this is solid, this is aqueous. So again, what you'll do is you'll essentially figure out your 2 equations. Cadmium 2 plus is becoming cadmium, and that has to go through via gain of electrons. So this must be your reduction reaction. Aluminum is becoming Al3 plus. So it must lose electrons. That must be your oxidation reaction. For cadmium, on my table, I have a value negative 0.41 volts. For aluminum, I have a value negative 0.166 volts. So again, you don't have to go by, how negative or how positive that value is and figure out, oh, which one is anode or cathode. You have to figure that out for the reaction that's given, because it's possible that you might be given a backward reaction and that's not going to work, so you have to change the polarity for the reaction to work. So work with, again, what you have. And so your E0 cell in this case is going to be cathode minus anode again, minus anode. So cathode is your reduction reaction, so that's negative 0.41. From that, you're going to subtract out the value for aluminum turns out to be 1.25 volts. And if E naught is a positive value, that means delta G will be a negative value. Now, realize the first reaction is a 2-electron change, the second a 3-electron change. That means you must multiply the top reaction by 3, the bottom reaction by 2 in order to get the balanced equation, because the electrons cannot stay remaining floating around in your final reaction. So you have a 6-electron change. Faraday is 96500, 1.25. When you plug everything in, it gives you a negative 723.8 kilojoules, and since it's a negative value, you say it's spontaneous.